Hello, and welcome to this training video for Promethean ActivSuite. Promethean ActivSuite is a collection of teaching and learning apps that you can download to your Mac, PC, laptop, or Surface Pro. It's completely free and can be used on any computer connected to a Promethean panel, no matter what model or age. Let's get started. In order to download Promethean ActivSuite, you need to go to any web browser. In this case, I'm using Microsoft Edge, and go to one.prometheanworld.com. When you're here, you'll then need to create a new account. If you already have an account, press the sign in option in the top right hand corner. If you don't have an account, when you press sign in, you'll need to go down to create an account. When you press create an account, you can continue to the sign up process with whichever method you feel appropriate. My advice is to use sign up with email. The reason this is probably the best option is it allows you to put your information in one particular box is really important here. When it comes to your job, make sure and select IT administrator. Even if you're not the IT administrator or IT coordinator within the school, select this box. At the moment, it's the only way to access the download link for ActivSuite. In the future, this will probably be much easier and very likely be available on the Apple stores and Windows stores on your computers respectively. When you've put in all your details, including your display name, which will be the name that pops up on the computer itself when you click on it, go to the bottom and click on email code. You will have put your email in, of course. They will then email you a confirmation code and your account will be created. Once you've logged in to the one.prometheanworld site, you will see your name in the top right hand corner. You will also see a large purple banner with the term introducing Promethean ActivSuite in the middle of it. If you want to continue to download, press explore features. A new tab will open up and you'll be able to see some information about the Promethean ActivSuite process. Now, there is a start setup button, and if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see some of the apps that are included with Promethean ActivSuite. You'll then see a setup process, and the first one will talk about accessing licenses and mention in particular the Active Panel 10 and purchasing one. You do get a full set of 2 licenses for Promethean ActivSuite with every Active Panel 10 purchase. However, there is also the free version of Promethean ActivSuite, which we're talking about today, where you do not need to purchase a Promethean Active Panel 10. You can use it on any computer that is going to be connected in a classroom to a Promethean panel of any model, whether it is a 10 or a 9. There will be benefits moving forward to the people that have the full range of apps on here, including the annotate, which does not come in the free version, and the screen share, which does not come in the free version. Also, the apps and the features and tools in the Explain Everything whiteboard at the moment are very, very good, as I will show you. However, there will be more features added to the full version. You will, I hope, be very impressed with what's currently available and for free, but if you wanted to get more out of this and have more features available, then over time then you could potentially purchase an Active Panel Suite professional license or proper license. These will be available to purchase separately. You won't need to just buy an Active Panel 10 to get them, but for the moment we're going to focus on the free version. What you then need to do is go down to the second section, so ignore the first one and go down to download. There's 4 different ways of installing it depending on what device you have. I imagine the likelihood is if it's within a Northern Ireland educational setting, you'll be putting it onto a Windows device, so probably your Surface Pro or maybe even a desktop. Regardless of which one of those you're choosing, it will be this here. Now you can download the screen share receiver. It doesn't really work in the same sense when you don't have the sender, so ignore that one. We're looking at this one here, download Promethean ActivSuite toolbar. Now I'm currently on a Mac. If you're on a Windows PC, it will be largely similar, but when you click on here, you will download what's called an installer file. Mine is I downloaded the Windows one here, which won't work on my Mac, but this file will be in your downloads. So navigate to your downloads and double click on it. It will then start the installation for ActivSuite onto your computer of choice, whether that of course is a Surface Pro or desktop. Just be aware that when you're installing this, that we have found there is a tendency for the C2K system to put little pop-ups once or twice during the system saying JavaScript or field, something like that. You can ignore these. It's basically just a quirk of the system. I have spoken, obviously, and work with C2K. It's not something that causes any issues at all. So just when they come up, just close them, and the process will continue in the background anyway. When it's finished, you'll be able to open Promethean ActivSuite. Once you've installed Promethean ActivSuite, you may notice a new logo which looks like this on your desktop. Now, bearing in mind, I am using a Mac at the moment. The procedure and the view will be very similar on a Windows PC. The icon will look exactly the same. It may be in your programs, but this is the Promethean ActivSuite logo, and it will sit on your desktop. So even if it's plugged into a panel, a Promethean panel of any type, it's still sitting on your desktop, and there's a number of benefits to that I'm going to take you through. The main one, however, is if I take my computer away, if it is a Surface Pro, and I disconnect it from my panel and take it home, maybe to do some work or plan something, I have access to all my same apps. In order to open it up, click on the Promethean ActivSuite, and it will open up along the bottom, just like this. You will see your name or whatever your display name you chose just in here. You can access the dashboard and an account if you want to change your name or change any elements of this. And of course, you can sign out as well. The first time you open ActivSuite up in the morning, it will ask you to sign in, and it takes 2 seconds, and that's it in. Next time you click on this in the mornings, it will open up each time. There is 4 apps on mine. As I mentioned earlier in the video, you won't have access to all of these. You won't have access to the annotate on the free version. That is something that comes with the full version. And there'll be a separate video on this site on the full version and also one for the Active Panel 10 as well. But we're not mentioning that today. So there's 3 apps to look at. The first 2 are pretty simple, and if you have a Promethean Active Panel of any model, especially a 9 or a 7 or a 6, you may be fairly familiar with them. The first one's called the timer. So if you click on the timer, it will open up on your screen. Now I'm sitting at my computer. I'm using my mouse to move these around. But of course, if I plug these into a computer or a panel, I'd be able to use my touch to move them around. To move them around, I can grab them to make them bigger. If you grab on the corners, like any kind of app here, you'll be able to make them bigger and smaller and navigate them and move them around as well. But what we've got on here is the timer. Now, at the moment, we've got a plus, and we've got a little settings cog. So the settings cog, what it allows us to do is change things. So if I want to make this bigger, and I'm going to make this bigger, I'm making it full screen. This is full screen. And so I've now got a full screen clock. I can change it to digital, to analog. I can change it to seconds. I can change it to hours. I can even change the time zone that it's going to be in. And of course, if I go to styles, I can change the style of how that clock looks. If I press the one beside this, looks like a little stopwatch, because that's what it is. It's a stopwatch. And again, under settings here, we can turn centiseconds off and on. We can change ticking on and off. And we can also then go to timers. And timers, we can have a digital timer, an analog timer. We can change it if there's a celebration at the end of our timer, maybe some confetti or maybe fireworks. We could have no celebration at all. We could change the sound at the end. We could have no sound. And of course, we can have an end phrase. So we could have congratulations, time's up, pencils down, etc. So you can choreograph and configure this in any way you would like to as well. If you wanted to add a second one on, you press the plus and you'll add a second timer. Now, at the moment, we're in full screen mode. If we come out of full screen mode, we're going to be able to add plus 1, 2, 3, 4 timers. We can also mix and match these as well. As you can see, I can resize these and make them bigger if I want to. One could be bigger than the other. And they could sit over the top of work we're currently doing. That could be work on Active Inspire. That could be work on Explain Everything, the whiteboard, or just work on websites, PowerPoints, PDFs, things like that. So we could mix and match. So this could be a spinner, or a timer, and we're going to make this one a clock as well. So let's go into here. There's a clock, and this one's going to be a stopwatch. So we have 3 different ones sitting on here at the same time. If we just focus on the timer, actually, of course, we can make these bigger and smaller, extend and decrease the timer. The little option here allows us to put our own set timers in. So I've got a Friday test, and it lasts 10 minutes and 13 seconds every week. So I'm going to set this so I don't have to set that every single Friday. It's ready for me to go just like that. That's the timer. Again, you can close these by pressing the X. You can minimize them to use them later on. They'll work on your computer. You can set them up beforehand so they're ready, or you can just make them ad hoc in the moment. The spinner is the second one I want to talk about, and very similar. It works in the same way. You can grab the top bit to move it around. You can grab the bottom bit to spin it around, things like that. You can add several ones. If you go to a plus, you can add one in as well. One thing I really like about the spinner is I can have whatever I want in here. So it's at the mercy of your own creativity, really. So you spin these, it's going to spin, and it's going to choose an option. Now, if I go into my settings, and I'm going to make it full screen so it's easier for you guys to see, although I could just drag that and make it slightly bigger. I can change the celebration, similar to before. I can have confetti, or I can have fireworks. I can add a sound, so at the end I've got a little sound here. I can even change the spin duration from no spin duration at all, so when it spins, I'll turn this off actually, it just gives me a new one each time, or a very quick one, so when I spin it just gives me that there very quickly. You can also see where it says display selection. If I turn this off and I spin it, it will show me the selection just in the slice here. I turn the confetti off as well, it's a bit distracting. Repeat selection, if I turn this off, that means that it won't repeat anything at all. So once I use 6 times 12, 6 times 12 won't come up again while I have this on the screen. Until I press the X, or I close it off, and open a new spinner up, these two, 6 times 3, 6 times 12 won't come up again. That's particularly useful if I'm giving out prizes and I don't want pupils to get picked again and again and again. However, if I'm doing sums or I'm picking people's names, I probably want that to stay on. You might notice down here, I've got a plus where I can add new spinners, but I've also got a little drop down menu. And what this allows me to do, as you can probably see here, is I can create a list. So I've got a very short list here. When I go to create list, I can make a new list. And on your PC, this is really useful because you can just type it. So you don't have to stand at a panel and do it. You can do it really easily. You click add item and you keep adding these in. If you add A and we add B, and you fill these up and you add C, you can keep going and you can add these all in until they're all finished. When they're finished, you press done. The import option allows me to pull down a CSV file. Okay, so if I've got a CSV file from my of my class, so what you do is you download a sample file which looks like this, and then my downloads, and then you just copy and paste your kids into that Excel file and just drop it straight in. This will browse your files, and again, you're on your computer, so you don't need to worry about where your documents are, whether it's on shared resources or on your documents. You'll be able to jump it in if you want to, just like that. That is really, really useful. So if I come out of this, I'm going to close this. We've got a spinner here. We could add 2 spinners. There's 2 over here, and we'll say one's going to be my class list, which are my names. So spin these 2 at the same time, and we'll do sums. So there's Matthew. What is 6 times 2? And again, we can move them around, make them bigger. They're really useful to use in conjunction with just normal teaching, and they'll sit on your computer wherever you are, which is highly useful as well. The last section of this training video is arguably the most important one, and it's about Explain Everything Whiteboard. To access this whiteboard, you click on the ActivSuite, and it's the Explain Everything logo with Whiteboard below it. Explain Everything Whiteboard is a teaching and learning tool that allows you to collate lots of different forms of media and teaching resources into one handy place. It also allows you to write and use it as a whiteboard, to make notes, to write content down, and just generally use it in a day-to-day manner. It is not a replacement for ActivInspire, which is certainly a question that a lot of people have asked, understandably, when they see it on the same ecosystem, on the same PC as ActivInspire. I have ActivInspire here, and ActivInspire is used much more for the creation of unique and quite niche learning activities. You can also keep using ActivInspire. It's not going anywhere at all. It's very, very good. The difference with ActivSuite, and particularly the Explain Everything Whiteboard, is it is a bit easier to add in things like PDFs, and a little bit easier to add in elements of teaching resources, and potentially a bit more user-friendly. ActivInspire is fantastic, but does require a bit of training in order to get the best out of it. And it's still there. If anyone who's watching this is interested in ActivInspire training, I certainly offer that completely free for any interested staff. Put my contact details at the end of this. If you want to reach out, you can certainly avail of that. Similarly for the ActivSuite And for Explain Everything Whiteboard, we also offer free training on that, in-person training as well. When you open up Promethean ActivSuite, and specifically the whiteboard, you'll always get this screen here, and it allows you to choose an option. A blank canvas is what you'll probably choose 99% of the time. It's when you want to start a new document, create some new content, and get started straight away. Templates are a collection of templates that are consistently being updated, and obviously this is on your computer, which in itself is online, and so it will be able to download new and exciting templates that you can just click on to use very simply. So if I want to pull one up here, which is about world maps or ice cream coloring patterns or checkers, there's some brilliant stuff in here. There's an all about me one here. You click on it, it will download it and open it up onto your computer just like this. And sometimes it's a frame like this, so you can fill in, and we'll talk about how to fill it in, things like that. If you want to go back, you press the back button, and it'll bring you back to your starter screen there. So we don't want to export this to save it. We want to go to start a new project and have a look at another template. So we'll go down to something different. Let's use human body, maybe something like that. There's the human body. And of course, you've stuff here. Now, just be aware there's a little icon here to pull things. We could pull this out. It will only pull, it says it's locked. What that means is it won't pull up and down. It'll just pull side to side. So I can talk about different things here. Again, they will allow you to move it around wherever you want. So a really useful little activity that's pre-made for you. And there's hundreds and hundreds of these on this app, but there's also much more than that online. Just have a note down here, something we'll talk about when we're going through this, but it says page 1 of 6. And what that means is that there's different slides on here. So you have different things for different reasons. In this case, I think it's different types of children depending on where you're teaching, but it might be different content you're using in terms of different pages you want to access and a continuation of those activities. So one of the big differences, or the big similarities, to this in Active Inspire, you can have different slides the way you would in Active Inspire, which is very useful. So we'll go back. We're not going to save this. We're going to start a new project, and we could have a look at File. The File allows you to open up any existing activity. That could be an existing Explain Everything activity, or it could, so you could save your work and come back to it on a different day, or it could just be a document. So I've got here a picture of a panel. Okay, so it's an active panel, one here, and I want to put this picture into a new document. This is my starting point in this document. I want to start with this. So if I go to open with this, it will open a brand new document, and that is the first thing that I will see, and it will be this picture I've just dropped in. So my document starts here. I can use it, I can move it around, I can start from there. I don't think it's overly likely you're going to start off with an image, or even maybe a PowerPoint or a PDF or a video. Maybe I think you're much more likely to start off here at a blank canvas. You'll probably use File to open existing Explain Everything whiteboards. So we'll go to blank canvas, and when you click blank canvas, it brings you here. So we're on blank canvas, and the first thing I want to point out to you is just down the left hand side. We've got a little toolbar, and we'll go over what all these things do, but the first thing I'd note about the toolbar is these 6 dots. If we grab these, we can move them around, and that's very, very useful, because maybe I've got a very large panel in front of my room and I want to write some sentences here, so I don't want to have to keep moving back and forth across my panel to choose between different colors or different tools. I don't have to do that. I move it across where I want to move it. If I move it over here because I'm left or right handed, that's easier. I can move it back, and I can move it around as well. We're not going to go down, just up and down. It doesn't work like that way. First, we're going to talk about the one that's on by default, which is the hand. Now, as you can see from the screen, this is called the hand tool. What the hand tool does is it grabs icons and images and pretty much anything on the screen. If there's nothing on the screen and I tap and use my finger, or I use my trackpad or my mouse, click and drag, I get this big purple square. And what this does is it grabs content. So if I was to draw a little squiggle, and let's go to our pen to do that. So we'll go to our draw tool or our pen. We've got a pen, we've got a pencil, we've got a highlighter. They all work in exactly the same way with each one. There's a pencil, there's a highlighter, there's a pen. You've got a little thickness here, and you can choose the thickness. You've got some colors here as well, and you can draw something just here. So I've drawn a nice squiggle there. If I wanted to do similar with a pen, again, I've got pen thickness. You can change the type of pencil, if you are using pencil, different darknesses, and similar for color as well, and highlighter. But we'll just stick with the pen for now. We're going to go to our hand tool. We can click and we can drag this. We can move it around. Now, if I click, I can also change the size of it by grabbing these sizing handles. On a panel, I can use pinch and zoom. I'm using the pinch and zoom on my, or like a pinch to make it enlarge or decrease and increase in size. I'm using this essentially on my trackpad, which you can do in a Surface Pro, and you can do that on a panel directly as well if you've got that touch capability. So I can move it around, I can shrink it, make it bigger and smaller, and I've also, whenever I grab something, grab anything, I've got the same icons along the top, no matter what it is. It could be an image, it could be a shape, it could be a drawing or a word or a piece of text. I get the same options. You'll get some other options depending on what you're using, but you'll always get these 4 or 5 here. So the bin will always delete it. If you delete something, just over here, there's an undo and there's a redo button just at the side. Beside that, there's a more option, and that allows me to duplicate things. Maybe I've written a drawing out or written a word out or drawn something out and I want to duplicate it. I can duplicate it straight away, so I've now got 2 of those things just there. If I click here again, I can copy and paste things. I could clear my drawings if I wanted to. I could even link this to a specific thing online or somewhere else. So I'm going to link this to Google. So I know that when I click on this, it's going to go to Google. If I could spell properly, it would help. Just like that. And so now when I come across here, if I click on things, I can open up. So I'm trying to open google.com, press open, it'll open that website up just like that, which is really useful. It means I could link it to something like hit the button. So I come across here, go to link, and go to, now I'm not sure which, what the URL is for hit the button, so I'm going to go top marks. I think it's .co.uk. You would find that out beforehand. So then when I come across here and you click on the little purple link, it says you want to open top marks. Straight in top marks, opens up a new wee tab over the top of what I'm doing, and we can go straight in. There's shape patterns, use that as an example. Straight into there, just like this. And there's the game. I can play the game, I can do what I want. I can press X here, I can then close this, and notice I'm still within the whiteboard. I haven't really left, I haven't needed to leave or go anywhere. I'm still within the whiteboard there. You can click on here, you can click on the link, you can delete the link if you want to and get rid of it like that. If you click and drag, we can also grab more than one thing. So click and drag, there's 2 things I've grabbed, and I can move them around at the same time. I can shrink them down at the same time, make them bigger and smaller, using my handles if I want to as well. And of course I can delete them as well. Now, one thing I want to do is, let's say I had these on the screen and I want the kids to draw around them or something like that, and I didn't want the kids to move them, so I could lock these in place. So you can do a number of things. You could stop them, they can't rotate. You can lock them vertically, so they only move side to side. You can lock them horizontally, so they only move up and down. You can lock the size, so they can move them around, but they can't resize them. And of course, you can lock the rotation to a specific size or a specific place within the page. The most commonly used one, however, will be this one, and that's just lock. And what that does, it locks it in place. So when a kid comes up and tries to grab it, as I'm trying to do now, it'll say this object is locked. Do you want to unlock it? It doesn't mean they can't unlock it. It means it's less likely that they're going to move it accidentally, or you're going to do that as well. It's quite likely if you're putting text on pages where you're setting lessons up, you're going to lock it. You'll probably do similar in ActivInspire as well. If you want to unlock it, you tap on the lock and you tap on here, and now it's unlocked. The padlock literally locks itself and unlocks itself, as you can see. If I was to angle this just at a slight angle and I wanted to straighten it up, the wee lightning bolt allows me to flip things horizontally like this or vertically like this. It also allows me to straighten things, straighten it back up to the way it should be. If it's text, this is very useful to do. And then the last one here are these wee sandwiches, and these allow you to change where it is in the page in terms of where it's justified, whether it's in my background, the layer it's on, or even if I can group it together. For me personally, I use the grouping and ungrouping quite a lot. So I want these 2 to be together and stay together. This is locked, so I'm going to unlock this just now. There we go. Oh, wrong one there. There we go. Unlock this. There we go. And I'm going to group them together. So grab up here, I'm going to click here, and I want them to stay together. Because if I click off here, they won't be stayed together, they'll still be separate. I want to group them together, so I click and drag, I press my wee sandwich, and I press group. They're now grouped together. So when I move this across, they're all grouped. I can move them around, I can make them bigger and smaller. I can do lots of different things just like that. I want to delete them, I can press the bin just like that. If you've done a lot of writing on the screen, and I'm just scribbling stuff on here, loads of writing of different things, you're writing lots of information, you want to get rid of it very, very quickly. If you're on the hand tool and you tap and hold, if you press clear all drawings, then you can clear all drawings very quickly. If you're just on a blank screen and you tap and hold whilst using the hand, you can also go to edit background. And this is highly useful when you want to change the color of your page, or you want to add a grid or lines or vertical dots or vertical lines or dots. So I'm going to go to a grid here, for example. This is the pattern size, so I can make it smaller, also much bigger. I find these very useful for things like place value and for teaching written addition and subtraction. If you press apply to all slides and then apply to all slides here to confirm it, any other slides you create in this lesson, they will apply to this. You'll get the same grid. You can always remove them, but it would save you time moving forward. I'm not going to apply anything here. I just wanted to show you that that was possible. So I'm going to hit reset, and I'm going to come out to here just like this. We've talked a little bit about the pen tool, the pencil tool, and the highlighter tool as well. If we come down and just below that, we've got the eraser. The eraser is similar, and you've got different thicknesses. Of course, I'm going to choose the most thick one here, and you have different types as well. So this is called Erase Active Drawing, and what this means is if I'm drawing something out and I choose this eraser, it basically removes the drawing I'm currently doing. It wouldn't remove something that I did earlier on, so I'm going to draw some other things here. I'm going to change and purposely pretend I've moved on with my lesson. So when I come across my remove active drawing here, it should remove this, but it won't remove this. I know it doesn't look like I'm rubbing, but I am. I'm trying to rub here, nothing's happening, where it is rubbing out here. It rubs out your most recent drawing only, but nothing else. Again, I know it doesn't look like I'm rubbing, but I am just there. So that's quite useful if you want to, if you do things in the moment a lot and you want to remove just your most recent thing. The second one is erase all drawings, and this one just removes any drawing whatsoever, no matter what it is and how old it is. That's probably the thing you'll use the most. And the third one is this one, and it's erase with images. Basically, that means erase everything. So if I wanted to put an image into here, that's something we can look at. And of course, like I said, if you're on the hand and you click tap and hold, go to clear all drawings, you can also remove it that way. We're going to add an image in just to showcase this eraser tool. So in order to do that, we can add it in a number of ways. We can go to our plus tool and we can add images this way, and we will be doing that in a moment. But what we can also do is just pull it directly from our computer. So I've got a folder on my computer. I appreciate I'm using a Mac here. I know you won't be using that. And what we're looking for is just any sort of image. There's PDFs on here, there's pictures, there's all sorts of stuff, and we're going to find an image here that we can add in just here. So there's one there we had of one of the Promethean panels, and we can just drag it in just like that. So that works on your PCs as well. If you drag it in, you press done, and it'll add it to your page. Again, you can make that bigger and smaller. You can click on it. You can resize it if you want. You can also spin it around. Again, there's the same options we had before. We can delete. We can use it in a number of different ways. If I was to write things on it, and this is quite a cool thing to show you, I'm going to scribble something on here, and I go to my hand tool. This will automatically stick to it. If I make it bigger and smaller, the writing gets bigger with it as well. If I want to remove that writing, this is where your different types of rubbers will come in. So the one that is with the writing, the drawings one, it will just rub out the writing on here, which is really useful. But I might want to rub out elements of the actual object itself, and that's where this last one comes in. So I could actually rub out part of the image itself. Maybe I just want this screen, maybe get rid of that. And again, I'm using a trackpad. It's far easier on here to use it on a panel, but I've rubbed that out. It does look, I fully admit, it does look like I've just painted over it. I haven't. I'll prove that by going to edit background and changing the color to something different. And you can see it has actually been rubbed out just like that. We're going to undo as well. So it's really useful, and it means that also work with any image, no matter where I get that image from on the internet or where I get it from on my computer. I will be able to rub it out. I will be able to use it in a number of different ways. It can be really helpful if you pull in an image from the internet or somewhere else and you just don't like the top bit. Well, you can just quickly rub that out, which is very, very useful. So we're going to delete this and we're going to move on. The bucket fill or the fill tool is simple and allows you to change things. So of course we can change to fill colors in like our background, but we could fill in something like a shape. So we could have different shapes, different varieties, and we can go to our fill tool and fill in, just like Microsoft Paint style, elements of this here shape that we've got on the screen as well. So click on here. We can move it around, make it smaller, we can delete it, all that sort of thing as well. We're going to go down to shapes. Shapes have been asked for quite a long time. They're used quite a lot in ActivInspire, but if you've used the Promethean whiteboard on the older panels, they don't have shapes. So this one does, which is very helpful. So with different colors here, we've also got shape options, which we can click on. If you want to add a shadow to your shape, by default you can. Also, you can set the default border width. I'm going to do it halfway there. This keep adding shapes is an interesting one. I'm going to come back to that in just a second, but we'll ignore it just for now. So click on the shape you want, and it gives you your basic shape. So I'm going to just choose an arrow. I'm going to click and drag. And it's grey, which isn't really what I want, but that's okay. Because after I can either use my fill tool to fill it in, which is an option, or, which might just be easier, click on the actual object itself. And when you click on anything with color, like a shape, you can change elements of that. So it's grey, so I'm going to change that to red. I can change the opacity of it if I want to as well, just like that in terms of the color. You've also got custom colors as well. And if I press the plus, I can have pretty much any color I like. If I press add, it'll add it straight in like that. Now, if I want to change the border width, I click on the black, because it's border. I could change the border width now. I could change the opacity, I could add different color, and I'm happy enough with that. What you might notice is, say I wanted to add multiple shapes, that when I'd use, and I'll do it another one, I'll do it with a triangle this time. When I add this in, I can't just make a new shape. I have to click on here again and go back to it. So if you want to keep adding shapes, go to shape options, toggle keep adding shapes on, and then you'll be able to make as many of these as you want. So I'm going to make a collection of some triangles here, and of course, like I said, I can change the color of these by clicking on them and very quickly changing them. But let's say I wanted to change more than one at a time. So if you tap on the wee hand, you'll notice it changes to something called add mode. There's a wee plus here, so I can click on this and on this and on, oh sorry, I can change this and this and this one. So I've used 3. Not only can I move these around or change the size of these if I want to as well, I can also change the color of them really easily by clicking on them just like that. So it's a very quick way of being able to access stuff. If you want to go off add mode, you just click on the hand mode once, and that brings you off add mode. We can grab all these, we can delete them, or we can use them any way that we want. The text tool is really important when you're making stuff. I'm on my computer at home here, and obviously if I'm going to set a lesson up, I don't want to write, I don't want to draw things, because it's very difficult to do that without a panel in my room or at home. So I'm going to go to the text. Now I'm going to type out an instruction for my students, which is going to be copy out page 3, something very basic. I could grab all this text, as you'd imagine. I could change the size of the font. I could change the font itself. There's a collection of different fonts on here. Some really nice ones, some really fancy ones, very similar to your likes of your Microsoft stuff. You can also change the color if I want to as well. You can also change the color of the box if you want to. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it all pretty much the same, just the way it is. If you want to, you can put a border around the box, and you can change the font style as well in terms of bold, italics, underline, strike through, subscript, things like that. And then if you've lots of text, you can align that text. You want it to be aligned left, centralized, right, or straight across the middle as well. I'm happy enough with the way it is at the moment. I'm going to shrink this box down, but I then changed my mind, because you know what, I actually want this to be really big and going basically from about here to here on my page. So instead of me having to guess what font size that is, you just use pinch and zoom. Works far better on a panel, and I'm going to try it on my trackpad. It's not great on here, but it does work far better on a panel. There you go, you can see there. You just pinch and zoom on it, and you can make it as big or as small as you want, just like that. So you pop it on there, and it sits there. Now what I could also do, just to show you something, is you can angle, if you're doing certain, text box. Let's say I pinch and zoom and accidentally set the angle of it, so it's just slightly off center. This is where this little lightning bolt comes in, and the straighten option, because it straightens everything up and makes it nice and straight for me to be able to see as well. Okay, so I'm just tinkering about here. We're gonna move around. We're gonna click this here. We're gonna get rid of this. So we're going to press the bin, and we're going to start from scratch a little bit. So let's hold in and go to clear all drawings. And we'll start off as if we're going to make a lesson. Don't worry, I will come to these two here, the cutout and the laser pointer as well. In fact, we'll talk about laser pointer now. Laser pointer is particularly useful if I wanted to talk about certain words without my finger blocking. Kind of doesn't become as relevant when you're on your computer, because you've got your mouse on here and your finger's not doing anything on the screen itself. But when you're teaching and you're pointing at certain words, your finger or arm could block things. Well, the laser pointer allows you, and you have different types here. We're going to use a lightsaber. When you click or tap on the board, you can now have a little pointer. Now, where if the laser pointer is here, or the actual lightsaber is here, your finger will be at the bottom of the lightsaber. So it always is slightly above where your finger is placed on the board. And that's really useful if you're trying to point things out. You can turn it off by clicking on it and choosing maybe just a hand or something different if you want to. but it's fully customizable, fully editable. You can use it any way that you like. So again, we'll come back here and we'll clear all drawings, get rid of this piece of text, and we're going to build out a new lesson. If you're wondering what this one does, this one here is your workspace layout. You can customize your tool set here and you can add different features, and by default they're all turned on. That's what you'll probably want, I think. But if you find, you know what, I don't use media, or I don't use shapes, or I don't use the bucket or something like that, you just get rid of them. Just toggle them on, toggle them off if you want to, just like that. It's something that can be really useful. We're going to build out a lesson, but before we do it, we're going to save it. So we're going to do a lesson on James and the Giant Peach. So I want to give it a new name. So click on here. I'm going to call it Peach. Okay, oh, didn't spell it correctly. Peach here, and click away, and that's it, saved now as Peach. If I want to save this as an export it later on, that's what this, because it's the share option. You click on here, you can save it as a document that you could print off, or a PDF. You can save it as an image that, again, you could use for records of PDF, or much more likely, you can save your project as an explain everything file, which is the file you can open up later on using the file option we saw earlier. It's also something you could transfer between devices if you had the ActivSuite and Explain Everything Whiteboard installed on here as well. The settings, the little three dots up here, allows you to check up any new updates. It allows you to change settings as well. And there's things you can mess around with, like, do you want objects to snap to things to snap to objects? Do you want to automatically group text? I actually turn this on quite a lot. I think it's quite useful. Do you want to add shadows? Do you want to snap rotation? Do you want to change elements of the drawings? Little things like that that you can turn or off, toggle and customize to suit you as well. There's also keyboard shortcuts you can choose if you want to change your language as well. And Video Tips has some pretty good videos that explain everything, and Promethean have made to help you along with things. We're going to build out a lesson now, and we'll see where that takes us and the sort of stuff we can make in a classroom setting. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to make a lesson. We're going to make a collection of activities. We're going to collate lots of documents and media together in the one place. And just to reiterate, this could be done before my lesson begins, as I'm doing now, sitting at home on my computer, or it could be done in the moment on the panel itself, using ActivSuite on your computer with it plugged into the panel. But we can kind of do it live. It is flexible enough that allows you to do that, but there are elements of this that I think you'll agree, you'll see that, yeah, I'd probably prefer to do this at home, have it set up. It'll be a big time saver, but you can add it in the moment as well. You don't need to set it up beforehand. So we've made a document. We've called it Peach as an example. We'll use a few different examples of content, but I want to start off and want to essentially create like a learning intention. So we'll type our learning intention out here. I'll be very quick. I will not dwell too long on the actual details. And like I said before, I want this to be, you know, really quite large so I can see it. I want people to be able to see it essentially, so I can pinch and zoom and make that bigger. I could change the color, I could change how it looks and things like that, all the different things you would imagine when it comes to text. Just so we know, if you are using text and you want to edit it, you press edit text and it will open up and change the options up here, where all of a sudden you're now able to do things like bold and change elements of it as well. So I'm going to make this bold, like I said. I'm going to underline it as well. I'm not actually going to write a learning intention here or type one. I'm going to pretend to write one just here, blah blah blah. So a really good learning intention has been written now, and I also do a mind map here and scribble a few things out. There's a mind map. You can probably tell I'm on a trackpad, I'm not on a board. And scribble a few more things down here. So I've filled up my page. I don't want to get rid of that content because I might come back to it later on. So how do I move on without getting rid of this stuff? We'll have two options. One of them we've kind of talked about already. One of them is just on the bottom right hand corner here, and we've got our slides. So just like a PowerPoint or just like an ActivInspire, if I press the plus, I can add a new slide. Now you'll notice it's now gone from 1 to 1 to 2 out of 2. If I press the little up here on my slide sorter, there's my first slide and there's my second slide. Pretty similar to how PowerPoint or ActivInspire would work. I can delete these if I either press delete on my keyboard or I press edit and highlight the one I want to delete and press the wee bin. I can delete it on here. I can also rearrange them as well. If you press edit, you can move them around by grabbing these little purple sort of arrows here if I want to. So change the order, that can be very useful. And of course you can change the background on each of these or duplicate them as well, which can be highly useful if you've made a template that you really like and you want to duplicate that across multiple pages in your lesson. We're going to go back to the first page because I want to show you about the other corner, the bottom left hand corner, and this is your zoom tool. Now when you click on here, it changes slightly, and what it allows you to do now, when you click and pan or click and hold, it moves the page. So what this actually is an infinite canvas. I have as much room as I want, or more realistically, I've got as many pages as I want, and each of those pages is an infinite canvas. So it gives me an awful lot of content and room to put content on. So we'll scroll down. We're going to scroll back up if we want to anytime here we like. You can also click on here and it'll bring me back to my home page or my first page each time just by clicking on that twice. So click once, click twice. Okay, it always zooms in a little bit initially. So we're going to start adding things in. So we're going to go to this add button, which we've neglected to talk about so far, and arguably it's the most important one of the lot, because when you go to add, you can kind of add anything at all. The screenshot is going to allow you to take a screenshot of whatever you're looking at. If I go to screenshot, and now because I'm on a Mac, it's going to be slightly different. I'm going to deny it here, but I can take a picture of my entire screen or my whiteboard. So I've got something on the screen. If I had any more tabs opened up, maybe I had Google Chrome opened up or Edge, I could take a screenshot of those pages as well. I'll just use this one for now. That's the wrong one. I'll use my whiteboard here. It won't let me do it as easy because I've denied this Mac thing. That won't happen on a PC. It's something that just allows it by its nature. So it would take a picture of that screen. In this case, it's taking a picture of my whiteboard, which is kind of useless because that's what I'm already looking at. But if I had a Windows app opened up, if I had a different app, it could be a program I've downloaded, it could also be a browser window, it'll take a picture of that as well, just if I ever want to grab content very quickly. So this is the crop window. If we want to crop this, click apply. I've now grab the picture of this here as well. Let's grab a number of different things we want to use as well. So make these bigger and smaller. We can now use this, and we've got the same tools we talked about before. So there's our rub out tools. We could rub this part out. We could rub this part out here if we wanted to as well, and we could use it in lots of different ways. We're going to delete it because we probably don't need to use it right now at the moment. Image or video allows me to add in, you'd imagine, an image or a video. Now obviously we've talked about you can just click and drag them in, but you can also add an image. Here's the one from before, there's one here. Click on here. It always asks you, do you want to crop it, do you want to change the size, do you want to rotate it? I don't, so I'm going to click done and I'll add it straight in just like that. You can also add a video in as well. So we're going to click here, image or video, and find a video. So I've got a video on here, just in this bet folder. Sorry, wrong folder there. So there it is there. It's a Active Panel 10 video. I'll add it in here. Now, the one thing to note here is if I'm adding in a video or video content, it will allow me to add in the video onto my page just here. I can press play. It might be loud. Okay. I'm going to turn the volume off here because I don't want it to be on. So we turn the volume all the way down and mute it and press play. So it's going to play in the background when I'm talking. So I move this in across. I could change the size and move it around here. Now what's cool about this is if I'm showing you something, it's this little panel here, I can change the size of this by pinching and zooming, which is really good. I can also use the size and handles as well, just like this. I can move it around. If I was to write on top of something, let's say I use my green to label this and write on this and scribble on this and move it around, and I go to my hand tool, this will all stick to it as well. I can rub that content out as well if I want to. I go into undo, use my rubber, lots of different ways of doing it if I want to as well. If I press play, it'll continue obviously back to where it was. I can also delete it as well. So click on it, I can press delete, I can lock it in place, I can do all the same things that we talked about before. We'll come to using the video in a wee moment within our lesson, but it's to show you that as well. Click on a file, we can add a file in from pretty much any source the teachers would use. So file would be our desktop or our computer or shared resources if we want, but we're going to go to Google Drive or OneDrive. So go to Google Drive, it will ask you to sign in. I've already signed in just once, and now I can access all my Google Drive. So there's my bet folder I'm using. There's a video on picture in picture. There's a PDF on James and Jab Peach, which we'll talk about just in a second. I'm going to add in, well, all about me booklet. Press select. So I've added in a PDF now, or tried to add a PDF of a booklet directly from Twinkle that was saved on my Google Drive. So I could have saved that on any device. When you add a PDF in, it tells you how many pages there are. In this case, there's 8, and you can see them all there. You can add them in lots of different ways. You can untick ones you don't want to add. Okay. You can go to the bottom here and decide how you want to add them. Do you want to add them as separate slides, add them in a big vertical line, a horizontal line? Do you want to stack them, add them as a grid? I'm only going to go to say a handful, say 2 here, and I'm going to add just these two here, and I'm going to add them stacked. When you go to import two pages, it will put them stacked on your page and you can use them. If you make them bigger or smaller, you can use it like that, which is quite cool. You can also use your pen, wrong one there, use your pen, and you can start filling them in and writing things on it and scribbling it and colouring it in. If I was to move this will stick to that. And again, even if I move the page, all the writing will stick to that as well. You'll also see that the actual the image quality will get better as you make it bigger. So if it looks small or blurry, it will revert to a more appropriate level of quality as you make it bigger or smaller as well. Again, we can grab this, we can delete it, we can get rid of it all just like that. Back to the plus here, we can also add in a file directly from our computer. So we go to File, find a file in our computer, wherever you're putting it. In this case, I'm going to see if there's anything in this folder I want to use. Yeah, there's plenty here. There's another PDF, there's videos, there's all sorts of stuff on here as well. Back to the file, a sticky note. A sticky note looks just like this. It's exactly what it sounds like, and you can type things in here. You can also write things on it as well. So you scribble things on it, it will stick to that. So you can use it like a real sticky note as well. What that allows you to do is give yourself reminders, give it to students so they can see things. You can type them out, so have them preset, so we reminders to help them. You can also change the color of them as well. So when you add a sticky note on, you'll notice you can change the color to any color you like and any opacity as well. Change the font size as well. You can duplicate them, use them in any way that you like. You can add clip art. There's a whole load of clip art on here that's directly from Explain Everything Himself. You can search for a specific piece of clip art. There's math stuff. There's really good clips in terms of preset and pre-made lesson tools like charts and math content as well. There's little doodles you can use. There's individual stuff like faces, and pretty much anything you could imagine is on here. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff that you can use. You want to add it in, you just click on something and it'll add it directly into your page, and you can use it in whatever way you want to. So there's one there. You can click on it, you can move it around, you can do all the things that with any image that we've talked about so far. Web media search. This allows you to go to two different sites essentially without leaving the app. One of them is Giphy, so you have to agree to an external search basically, and I'm going to go to Happy. And I would probably use this sort of in, not in the moment because it's all safe. There's nothing dodgy there, but you know what kids are like and getting them all wound up. But I want to put stuff on here to make it a bit more exciting. So I'm going to put Elmo in here and pop him in there, and he'll sit there and he'll repeat and loop all the time I want it. It can be a really nice way of engaging with students in a way that kind of speaking their language in a way. That we all use GIFs now, so do they. Kind of get them a bit more exciting, and it's visual, and it's there's dynamic because there's movement in it as well. And like any picture, you can click on it, you can draw on it, you can delete it as well. You can do lots of different things there as well. The other option in web media search is Unsplash. Unsplash is a collection of royalty-free images. You can search for a type of image if you like, but the images are incredibly high quality, so they're really, really, really useful for you to be able to use. So as you can see here, we can use these, we can write on them, we could rub them out as well, but find hopefully some really good uses for them as well. Audio, if there is any audio on your computer, and there might be, that could be just an MP3 file, but that could be audio that you've downloaded from somewhere. So I've got a random one here, which I believe is a podcast, which no one will be that interested in. But if you add it in here and you press play, you'll be able to add this in. I don't want necessarily to have to listen to myself, but there it is there. That's me talking. I don't want to go into that anymore. But I can jump around here. I can use it. I can show media controls, so I can jump to a specific section. And there's someone talking there. I can move this around and leave it wherever I want. That's really useful. You could use your... there's a microphone on your Surface Pro already, and there's a camera. You could record some audio for yourself and drop it in. So if you want to add audio in that you record yourself, you could add that little MP3 file in as a set of instructions for yourself or for your teacher if you're going to be off, and have them sprinkled in amongst your work where you want to put it. But that's very useful as well. Placeholder allows you to basically decide what you're going to do. So I want to put a placeholder for a file. I click on here, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to tap and hold and put a file on here. So it could be this little image here. So I know that image is going to go into there, and so whenever it's ready, it's going to sit into that little space here. It allows you to organize how you want to set your document, your workspace out before you do it. Okay, so we've kind of had a bit of a pause there. We've started a lesson, then we've shown you the add button. So we'll use the add button here, and we'll go into file, and we'll add in something from our file here. And we'll go back down to downloads, back into this folder, and we'll see if there is anything on. Plenty of James and Jab, Peach and things like that. There is actually plenty of things here that we could actually use as well. I'm going to add in this little PDF just here. Click OK, open, add it in. Don't want going to deselect all these. I just want this page and this page. Just the first two. I don't want them as separate slides. I want them as a grid. And we'll pop them into here. Look a bit small, a bit hard to see. So if I click on this, I can make it a bit bigger. You'll be able to see. It's much easier for you to see once it loads in. Again, if I highlight this, or I was to draw something on it, and I move that, this will stay on it as well. So the actual content will get bigger and smaller and move with me as well. So then I move on by using my little zoom to the next part of my lesson. I could also change the slide as well. And we're going to add in an image or a file from somewhere else. Could also equally be a video. We're going to Google Drive this time because I think there might be some more stuff in here that we're going to have a look at. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we've got something on Key Stage 3, properties of a solid, liquid and gas, and I fully appreciate that's not what this topic is, but we're going to use it as an example. So I found a video online or in my Google Drive that I've saved earlier, and we're going to open it up in here and dropped it straight in. Now, this video is going to sit on here like the video you saw earlier. If I press play, it's going to press play. If you press Show Media Controls, we can turn it down. Let's turn it up a tiny bit. We can go to the area we want to go to. Say go to about here. So this is solids. So I'm going to click on here and I'm going to mark. I would probably do this in the moment with my students. So I would say to them, this is a solid. We're watching the video. We click solid and we circle these and show how close they are together, etc. And there's no gaps. If I move this around or make this bigger, this changes the size with them. I don't need to do anything. It moves with it essentially. If I rub that out or I get rid of these, I can do that. You can either click on these separately to move them off or delete them entirely, or you can just press the bin and delete them like that. Oh, wrong one there. Click on here, press the bin and delete them like that there. If you press play, it'll obviously continue. Really flexible, really easy to add videos without much fuss at all, and it works on the panel directly as well. We're going to plus here and we're going to add in another file. We've already added a PDF and I showed you how to add that in. We've added a video in as well. We can also add images and things like that. One of the things to note is, if I wanted to add in a picture, it works in pretty much the same way, but it may just be easier to grab something and just drop it straight in with a click and drag if you're doing it at home. So here's a PDF on what is ActivSuite, which we're talking about today. And there's two slides here, but we're going to put it on as a grid. So we're going to go to import two pages in here. And there's a grid here, and we can talk about ActivSuite. We can talk about how to get it. We can make it bigger, we can make it smaller, and we can put the content just on here. We can zoom on. So if we click here just once, you'll be able to see all of our page that we've got so far. If we click again, it brings us to our first page and we can scroll through this. So what this allows us to do is, if I want to jump into a specific part, I can do that. I can find, I want to go down here, for example. So I'm going to scroll down here and zoom in and find where I want to put it. I'm kind of done with this now. I want to move on. I've added videos, I've added PDF, I've added images, I've been able to write things on it, I've been able to add links to websites, all really useful. And if I was making a lesson, all my content's sitting there, ready for me to access straight away without leaving the app whatsoever. So I want to save this. So I go to my share option, I go to project, or save your project as a file, and it's already called Peach, and it's going to save it onto my computer, and I'll be able to access that on any ActivSuite any program of ActivSuite that's going to be on a computer there, which is quite useful. That's us for now. Okay, that's the end of this video. After I finish, there's going to be a wee screen with my contact details. Oh, you can see there, sorry, before I finish, there's where I'd save it. I'm going to save it to my desktop, just here, just like that. And I suppose I'll finish off by coming out of here. And when we're going to, you could, when you leave, it will prompt you. Do you want to export it? In other words, do you want to save it? We've just done that, so we don't need to do that. So we're going to go start a new project. If we go to file, we'll be able to open that existing one here. There it is there. You click open and I can save that there. Alternatively, if you're in a position where you're going, well, hold on, I don't have a Surface Pro, so I can't take that home and back and forth. I've got a desktop in my room. That's fine. You can install ActivSuite onto your desktop and install it on your Surface Pro or on a laptop at home. And if you have your file here that you've done at home, you can save it to Google Drive and you can add it in Google Drive that way. You know, download it onto your computer in Google Drive, or just use a USB if you wanted to as well. There's that same document that we've just opened there. That is us. I'll minimize this. That's us for now. That's the ActivSuite specifically. That's the whiteboard. I think it's a really good tool to be able to use. As I said just earlier, when this finishes, there'll be my contact details at the end. Please do reach out if you need any training or support. Like I said, this is to be used on the Promethean panels, but it doesn't matter what model it is. So it's a really good opportunity that if you have older panels, to give them a bit of a new lease of life, for no cost, to be able to use it as well. And the full version, which will have more features in the future and moving forward, like, it will be a better proposition. It will have a lot more useful things, like being able to add in and flip chart files and video links and all sorts of different things. But look, what this is, I think, is very, very good, and will cover the needs for a lot of teachers. But do get in touch if you want training or any sort of support, of course, if you have any questions. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.